Hey guys, so we need to talk about New World. It's the new MMORPG from Amazon. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the game. The game was originally set to release, I believe it was May, this past May 2020. It was pushed back to late August 2020, and now it's been pushed back one more time to spring 2021. So I pre-ordered the game, and because I have pre-ordered the game, I received an invite to the preview along with anybody who's signed up for the beta before the second to last day of the preview and anyone who had pre-ordered before the preview started. So I think we need to actually have a discussion on this game and how I feel about the game as it stands in the current model prior to it releasing, using only Preview 1 and my experience in Preview 1 as the metric for this game. Let's get into it. So first off, I want to talk about combat. PvE combat specifically. I don't want to talk about PvP yet. We'll get there. I'm already frustrated with that one. But PvE combat in this game feels wonderful. The game is responsive. It feels very good. Very good. And you know, for an action-based online game, you would think there'd be some delay at some point. No, Amazon has done a great job in fixing that problem. I don't feel like when I play this game that I'm having any problems hitting my target. Ranged using caster, using a musket, it feels good with it. It feels like I'm actually taking a hit. And because of how you can block attacks, you can dodge out of areas, you have some abilities that also help in this aspect. It feels like you can attack something at a higher level than you and succeed without having to worry too much about just getting killed because it's 5 levels ahead of you, like in most other tab-based RPGs, MMORPGs, I should say. So generally, the combat feels good, and I'm very impressed. Very impressed, Amazon, with what you did with that combat. That engine is wonderful for it. And I feel like you are setting an example for how an action-based RPG should feel in an MMO setting. Bar none, that's how I feel there. However, PvP. So if you're jumping into PvP in a 1v1, it feels pretty good. You know, it's the best person who's going to win. You know, you feel good about it. But if I'm telling you that I'm 2v1ing you or 3v1ing you or vice versa, I'm being 2v1, which has happened to me, you're staggered to death. That's just it. You're not going to win. You're not going to win that fight. You are staggered to death. Maybe you can get out of it, but chances are you're going to die. You can't get a block up. It doesn't feel good. It almost feels like PvP combat was set up for massive battles and not small encounters. It should be set, it should be set for both areas because small encounters are going to happen, especially if you have PvP questing. Let's talk about that now. The PvP questing. No, I'm sorry. Let's talk about questing in general. Terrible. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. If you disagree with me, please let me know why, but I feel that the questing in this game is absolutely horrid. It is only fetch quests. Go off and kill this. Go off and get this. Go loot these treasure chests from these houses that are the exact same model in every town you're in. These are the quests that you have to do at all times to proceed in every single town. Now, you get things like corrupted invasions, which is cool, but for the most part, you're sitting there doing the same quest from any town board you go to. That's not fun. I get that a lot of games have these kind of quests in them, and they're fairly common. Final Fantasy XIV, one of the main games I play, has a lot of these in it, especially in the main story. But when you're telling me that there's no story involved in this, and it's just doing this every single time for any quest I take off a board, whether it be my Covenant board or not my Covenant board, my faction board, or my city board, this is what I'm getting. That's a little boring. Now, I do have to say, I do like the fact that Through these, you gain experience to put forth for the town, so you get a XP boost in your area, things like that. And the PvP quests actually give you more, so you can get the PvP items, which is cool. Until you find out the PvP quests are the exact same, and I just have to go sit in an area for 120 seconds and patrol the area. That's not really patrolling the area. Like, I think there's one that I did where I just stood behind a thing for 120 seconds and moved to the next area. That's not fun, guys. Come on, you gotta fix it. That needs to be fixed. Let's talk about the user interface now, though. So the user interface, for the most part, I feel is pretty good. One critique I would make on this would be that the user interface needs separate windows similar to that of Final Fantasy, Guild Wars, World of Warcraft. I hate the fact that it takes my entire screen up, but I can work with it, except for the inventory. The rest of the UI is fine. The inventory, I'm sorry, this is an MMO. Why on earth am I kneeling down in the middle of the jungle to sort my inventory out? I don't have to hold a map. Like whenever I open the map view, you don't see me pull out a map in front of me and I'm reading this map and I'm unable to do things. No, I'm still moving. I can auto run and do things. Why in inventory am I going down on one knee, exposing myself? In an action RPG where it's already hard enough to start blocking after you've been hit and staggered once. That has to change. That entire mechanic needs to go away. It just does. If you want the inventory to take the full screen like it currently does, that's fine. But the kneeling part of it, the being completely immobile part of it, needs to go away. And with inventory, let's talk a little bit about crafting and gathering. The next piece of this. These pieces are fun and boring. I can't put it any other way. The gathering is really, I really enjoy the gathering. It feels like I'm gathering. You have trees that are coming down. You have rocks and minerals that are exploding or not exploding, but going away as you mine them. You have herbs coming out of the ground when you pluck those. It's really nice. That feels really cool. There's not a whole lot you can do with gathering. It is gathering. You're not doing much of anything with it. But this way of sitting down and actually causing the world to destroy itself around you as you gather is really cool, and I like that. And I think it's done very well and very tasteful. Crafting, there's nothing wrong with crafting. It's just very basic. People talk about how much they love crafting in this game, and I mean, I kind of came from a crown jewel of in-game crafting when I played. Not Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is a great crafting system, but when I played Star Wars Galaxies back in 2004, the original version of the game, that had a very in-depth crafting system where you had experimentation points to put towards different pieces that could make your item better. Even Beastmastery in Star Wars Galaxies NGE, New Game Experience, where you really had modifications you were doing to your creatures while you're creating them in the incubator. And so my level of enjoyment for crafting is at a very high level, and as is my level of care for how it's done. They're both at a high level, and low-end crafting where you just kind of do it, it doesn't do anything for me. I'm not saying it's wrong. It fits in the game very well. I'm not a big fan of it because of how simplistic it is. That's all I'm saying there. Now let's talk about the mobs and models in this game. I think there's 8. You have your skeletons, your wolves, elk. I can't even think of the other 3. Your 2 different types of zombies that are in every destroyed city. You're corrupted. And a couple, and like 2 of the tree versions of them that are taken over by nature. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting the names. They weren't memorable. I'm sorry. They just were not memorable to me. There's so few of them that they didn't resonate. That's just that is what it is. They just didn't resonate with me. I feel that needs fleshed out. The models need updated. There needs to be more of them. even give them a little bit of different design. I feel like I'm fighting the same things as I level and go to different zones. I should never feel that way. Yeah, maybe there are advanced versions of those mobs, like if I'm thinking like a fire elemental, you get a fire sprite that eventually becomes this hardcore fire elemental from another plane that's really strong. Like, granted, it's still a fire elemental when you boil it down, but it looks different. Do something with models like that. That should be a minor priority, but still priority. It keeps your players feeling more immersed in the game, and it makes you feel like you're not progressing. That's what it feels like for me, is that I'm not progressing. Let's see. Another piece I wanted to hit on is the traveling. You have fast travel with a cooldown, similar to having a Hearthstone. Honestly, 9 times out of 10, I just die back because you don't lose anything on death right now, or anything substantial, at least in the preview. It's quicker just to get back to the town that way, to be honest with you. It just is. There's no mounts. You're playing game in 2020. Mounts are kind of expected at this point. There's not a single MMO out there that doesn't have some variation of mounts, especially with such a large open world. I like the idea of having my camp near where I'm going, and there's a spawn point there for me, and I can craft and do some minor things at that camp, like cooking. But without mounts, I feel like I'm running forever, and it's boring to me. So those are my biggest gripes about the game so far. For a general outlook and thoughts of this game, I would say that if this game were to have released in May and or August, that this game would last 2 months and then fail. It would turn into Crucible. Last a little bit longer than Crucible, but it would be Crucible at the end of the day. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't feel like this game had longevity in its current form. I feel like the sieges are cool, the combat's cool, the leveling of the items is cool, but it's not substantial. It feels like it's just there to give me something to do for a little bit, and you'll have those maxed in a couple weeks, and then there's no point to do them anymore because you're done. Now what do? Do you defend your towns? Maybe you just stop caring because it doesn't matter so much. I have a great outlook for this game in the future, but I think that right now this game would fail very hard, and this game is going to have a real hard challenge if Ashes of Creation comes out and delivers exactly what they say it's going to do. If that game comes out and is as good as they're saying it's going to be, with as many classes available to you, with as big of a map as they have, with mounts, with their sieges, with their PvP, with their economy, New World will get destroyed. It will not be possible for it to continue on. It'll last a couple months, and then Ashes will just supplant it, unfortunately. I want to love New World, I do, and I really hope the devs do a good job in this game. I really hope that they make some massive changes as additional previews come out that I'll be a part of and I will be taking a look at. From what I understand, the last preview had very new pieces in it that were not there when alpha ended, which is very nice to see. But I'm hoping there's going to be more, and I'd love to see the developers of New World tell us what those are, so we can compare and contrast much easier. And with that, I hope you guys like this fairly controversial video. A lot of people have very high passion of New World, and I understand that. And if you have any thoughts or opinions on this video, please leave a comment right down below here for me, and let me know what your thoughts are with New World and where you're coming from. This game has a rocky past right now and a potential rough road, and I would love to hear from you. If you also would like to hear more about New World from me, please subscribe and hit the like button as well. That'll help me understand what you want to see more of in the future as we go forward. And with all that being said, my name is Awifia here at Blue Unicorn Gaming. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Have a great night, and as always, keep on gaming.